Saints 365 is a passion project to glorify God and honor His saints. This project is based upon the book, The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler.
August 16th, St. Joachim, Confessor. The feast day of the Father of Our Lady and the husband of St. Anne has been placed by the Church after the Feast of the Assumption only in very recent times. For a while it was celebrated directly after the birthday of Mary, September 8th. Devotion to him has been constant over the ages, although historically nothing is known about the details of his life. The Proto-Evangelium, that is, the first Gospel, of St. James, is the basis for most of the tradition about him. This writing, however, is not regarded by the Church as an inspired piece of literature, and while it serves a purpose in indicating that his memory was early held in veneration, it does not aid us in our reflections on his personality. Yet this very obscurity teaches us a holy lesson, namely, that God finds us useful for His purpose, and therefore He, and not we, must be remembered if the work done through our agency is of importance. That is why the name of St. Joachim has been venerated in the Eastern churches from very early days, and his tomb in Jerusalem gives special honor as a shrine from the 4th to the 9th centuries. Actually, it is a dogma of the Church that Our Lady was privileged with an immaculate conception, free from the effect of Adam's sin, from the very moment she began to be through the fatherhood of St. Joachim. It is not unreasonable to suppose that unique graces of holiness were given by God to him, who was to be in contact with this singular privilege of Mary. Again, living with her who is full of grace, even in her very earliest years, would have been a source of abundant blessings for this man of God. In any event, the abiding tradition of devotion to St. Joachim and the rank of the feast as a double of the second class indicate the attitude of the Church toward the human father of the Blessed Mother of God. Reflection. Fathers have a hidden but most important part to play in the lives of their children. They can lead their children into paths of holiness, and by so doing, their own children may be for them a source of numerous spiritual blessings. Also celebrated on August 16th, St. Roch, Confessor. The date of the birth of St. Roch cannot be determined with exactness, but it is said that he was born about 1295 at Montpellier. His father held a position of power and influence in the city. After the death of his parents, when he was about 20 years of age, the young man had no inclination to take his father's position, but handed over the government to his uncle. He then distributed his wealth to the poor and set out on a journey to Italy. At that time, many people were afflicted with the plague, and the young man, dressed as a pilgrim, devoted his time, energy, and prayers to the care of those who had been stricken. Wherever he went, the plague disappeared before him, due to the fact that God gave him the power of working miracles in behalf of those who were suffering from the terrible disease. Having contracted the malady himself, from which he recovered in the course of time, the young man went back to his own city in the year 1322. Not wishing to make himself known, he was cast into prison as a spy, and died there 5 years later in the year 1327. When his identity became known from some papers on his possession, he was accorded a public funeral, which was the occasion of numerous miracles. The relics of St. Roch are venerated at Venice, and the Church has established an arch-confraternity in this house. His feast is celebrated on the 16th of August. Reflection. Considering the great and miraculous power of St. Roch during his life, and through his intercession after his death, let us remember to call upon him in time of need. St. Joachim and St. Roch, pray for us.
Saints 365 is narrated by Rob Roller, edited by Josh Bach, and produced by Our Local Parish Productions. Funding for this project is made possible by Catholic businesses. Please go to the business directory at ourlocalparish.com to support these generous businesses. Thank you for listening. God bless.